Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems, and want to welcome you to. So, Patrick, why don't you flip on your video there? And it's good to have you here. Happy New Year to you, Patrick.
Boy, it's just right around the corner, isn't it? And
It is.
your title there on the slide is absolutely right, Eric. As people will see today, if they pay attention, if you're looking to get into your own business, folks, 2016 is the best year ever for this industry.
We're actually going to show you some of the articles that we covered during that month, just so that you know that we're staying current on all events, everything that has to do with medical billing. We're right the smack dab into all of this. So, Patrick, I say we just get this thing kicked off, and let's kind of turn the wheels back and turn the times back, and let's look at some of the information that we covered back in January. We covered this particular webinar, and folks, again, everything that you're seeing here you can find on our blog, and we really recommend that you go back because none of this is really outdated. I mean, folks, you're going to find just a tremendous amount of information here. But Patrick, we've talked earlier in the year, 7 signs it's time to start your own business. Just real quickly, just talk to us about that. What does that mean?
So what we're showing you here, folks, are the actual title slides of the webinars that we did last year. In January, this was the first one we did. We wanted to cover the 7 signs that it's time to start your own business. And Eric, we went into some really heavy-duty stuff there, starting with an article that I thought was really appropriate for this particular session because, as you can see, this is from Healthcare Finance News, revenue cycle outsourcing to surge in the next 5 years. Well, folks, we're still in that 5 years, right? This is the second year. Last year was the first year, I guess, of that 5-year cycle. So we're in the second year of this. So, Eric, you couldn't define a window of opportunity better than this article right here.
Yeah, this lady, Susan Morris, who is an associate editor of Healthcare Finance, and folks, you can go find this on the internet. Just go type in Healthcare Finance. And she's saying here that the revenue cycle management, now remember, we certify you as a medical revenue manager. So this is exactly what we're talking about here. Outsourcing market in the United States will grow by 15% over the next 5 years. Now, Patrick, that's a great growth over the next 5 years in a particular industry.
15%? Are you kidding? The automobile industry would love to see those numbers. The food industry, the travel industry, nobody's got 15% growth. And folks, this is talking about specifically what you will be doing for doctors. They call everything in their office that has to do with revenue their revenue cycle. We're going to show you how to help them manage that cycle, including the billing, of course, to the insurance companies and to the patients. But look what it says. Providers are, it's in red there, providers are increasingly outsourcing to ensure maximum collections and changing payment models. So, Eric, again, this is an incredible article for people who are researching any business. I could have written this article, but we didn't.
I love what this says here, and folks, we do want to draw your attention down to that last little paragraph before we hop over into the February webinars. But again, remember, you can find this webinar, the recording of this, on our blog, and just go back into the January area, or just type in, the seven reasons why you need to start your business. But it says lacking platforms to handle changes in billing, reimbursements, and collections, healthcare service providers will continue to outsource to third-party vendors to avoid gaps and inefficiencies leading to the loss of revenue. Patrick, that leading loss of revenue, that's why you don't really have to go sell this business because the doctors are already losing revenue.
Exactly. And folks, when we say you don't have to sell anything, really, it's kind of like if you had popsicles in the Sahara Desert, would you have to do any selling? No. What we've got is an increase in revenue for the doctors, and we teach you how to go out and educate the doctors and the office managers so that they will contact you and say, hey, come tell us more. And that's the best you can ask for in any business.
It's really almost like opening up your own lemonade stand right in the middle of summer. Those little kids don't have to sell anything. People are going to come up and get something, especially whenever it's hot outside. And that's what's really going on here. And that's why we want to try to share with you throughout the whole webinar, it's not a whole lot of selling. Now, is there marketing? Marketing, yes, because you got to let people know that you're out there. So, folks, don't get selling and marketing confused. Selling is what you try to sell something to somebody something that they don't want. Marketing is just letting the doctors know that you're out there and the services that you provide. And that's what we teach you and train you, not only through these webinars before you become a licensee, as you'll see today, but really what we teach in those 5 days of live training.
Well, we really teach them to go find the pain. There is pain inside those medical practices because they have a rejection rate that's off the charts for all their claims that they submit to the insurance companies. And of course, Medicare is paying less than they've ever paid on claims to doctors. And they can't collect from their patients because the economy is just really tight right now. And paying your doctor's bill is the last thing people want to do, right? But we show you how to put systems in place in the doctor's practice that solves all that for them. So we really are just providing the solution to a huge problem that they have.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to turn the calendar page here and jump into February. And February is usually a short month, but we still get four webinars in there. And one of the things that we did this last year is, why do some fail at starting their own business? Now, Patrick, there's probably a 3 or 4 questions that we get asked the most, and a lot of people just want to simply say, "Why do people
failure rate?"
Yeah.
And of course, we tell people that everybody has a different definition of success. Doesn't mean that all of our licensees are going to go out and sign up, 300 doctors, as some of them have. But then some people are happy having a handful of doctors making a 6-figure income, working at home in their pajamas, and never having to fight the commuting traffic or anything like that. That's what they're happy with. So there's no quotas. There's nothing you have to reach, goals or anything like that, other than your own goals to make whatever money you want to make in your own business. And so it's a great business because it can be run from anywhere there's an internet connection.
Yeah, and matter of fact, folks, if you're taking down any notes, and you want to go back specifically to these specific webinars, just write down that why do some people fail. There's a part there in our blog where there's a search that you can just type that in, and it'll pull up any of the webinars that we've ever talked about doctors failing. Very interesting, Patrick. We just got a question in from Kathy. Kathy, thank you for being on the webinar today, and I'm going to address your question right now because Patrick is going to address it right here in this particular graph here. Any history with dentist?
Yeah, she says any history with dentists. Well, yes, we've at one point we actually had dental billing software, Kathy, but we don't now because we do not want you focusing in. Look at this chart. We don't want you focusing in on the smallest slice on there. Well, it's almost the smallest. See it down there? Dental is only 4% of the healthcare spending market that's out there. So why would you spend any time and effort going after that market when there's such a huge market there? Look at the physicians and the clinical care there, all kinds of things. And of course, Eric has a great quote here that he's got underlined. Why don't you read that, Eric?
Yeah, it says physicians and clinical service spending was $614 billion, representing 20% of the total health spending. So, why go after the small things? And that's what this little chunk of that pie there where it says physicians and clinical, that chunk right there is $614 billion. So how much of that do you want?
Yeah, I mean, think of that as a pie. If you just had a pie that was 614 billion, how big a slice of that pie do you need to make a good income? You wouldn't even be able to see the line. It wouldn't be a slice. It would just be a little line that you drew there. So the point is, folks, this is a huge industry. If you're thinking about getting into any kind of industry, be sure and look for this kind of growth, this kind of pie share, a market share that you can go after because it's big.
Now, what we talked about here, again, is why people fail in their business. And, Patrick, you and I have kind of drilled it down to these 3 main points, and that's just a lot of people, and we've seen this with our licensees, and one has been our trainer, Cynthia Anderson, who has a marketing background, came to our training class,
yeah,
a degree in marketing, and came to our class and completely just didn't do that well when she left.
Well,
it's just because she tried to do it differently.
Do it the way she was taught in college, the way her professors said. And those professors have had no experience out in the field, certainly not marketing to doctors. That's a whole nother ball game right there in and of itself. So if you try to reinvent the wheel and do what you think is best, not what we've learned over the last 22 years, you might fail. The same way with no product differentiation. You've got to have something that's really, really unique. And you'll see if you stick with us in the webinar here, guys, we've got something that's so unique, no other medical billing company in your area is going to have what you're going to have as an ABS licensee.
And then the lack of personal discipline. We could probably just do a complete webinar on that alone, because it doesn't matter what you want to do in life. Patrick, just a lot of people fail just because they can sit there and dream all they want to about starting a business or getting involved in something, but they just don't have the personal discipline to do that. And sometimes we find that with people that come out of training, that they come out of training, they're all ready to get going, but we can't reteach someone to have personal discipline.
No, I mean, we're not going to call you in the morning and try to get you out of bed, for example, and tell you to get off your boop and get out there and actually do something. Look,
that was good.
The people who, did you like that beep?
That was good.
The people who actually would fail in our business, Eric, would fail in any business. They should have never started any business at all, right? Because a lack of personal discipline will cause you to fail no matter what. I don't care if it's just washing cars. If you don't get out there and knock some doors and get people to let you wash their car, it ain't going to work for you.
Right. And
anyway,
so
this would be a great book. For those of you who are wondering why people fail, we go into more detail, of course, in this one. This was the February, one of the February webinars.
The one we did for February. All right. So again, we don't want to get too caught up on that, but folks, just one quick thing that Patrick has written a book on that, how to reprogram yourself. So if you kind of get stuck in that stinking thinking part of life, I bet you're looking for that book right now. So he's looking for that book. It's there somewhere. Well, let's get into the March here, and as Patrick's looking at that. In March, we actually did a webinar. There it is. You can find that book on Amazon, and certainly we'd encourage you to get that book if you need to. Benefits by bringing doctors the latest technology. And folks, we feel like we really have the best technology out there. This is where we dove back into the evolution of medical billing. I mean, because Patrick, what you see on the left is how you and Linda, your wife, actually started medical billing with a typewriter.
That's right. Well, it wasn't quite that old a typewriter. That looks like a 1930. But it was an electric typewriter, and we had to type up all of the claims on this form that the government provides, and then fold it up and mail it and address it and send it off and then wait for it to come back. Yeah, it was a hassle. Not something you want to do.
Yeah, and so this webinar right here kind of just shares with you how the whole evolution of the medical billing has come where it was and where it is today, and really how easy it is for you to actually fill out that red form right there. That's called a CMS 1500 form. What you're doing is you're taking those codes that are over here to the left. Folks, that's what's called a super bill. That's where the doctor's circling these numbers here, and whatever numbers that doctor circles is the code that you put in there, which tells you you're not a coder. You are a medical biller. You're transferring the data from that super bill onto this health information claim form that actually gets sent in to the insurance companies. But now, through our system, the evolution to where we are today, it's a full web-based system, which includes the 4 things that you see here. iClaim, which is the practice management system, which is the billing system. EMRX, which is our electronic medical record system. Patrick just mentioned to you the differentiator out there, we own and operate our own clearinghouse. That's another seamless integration that we have here. And then finally, the patient portal, which is all the patient medical records here.
Yeah, because again, back to that revenue cycle. To solve that revenue cycle problem that they have of getting the money that's due them in the practice, you have to address all of these things. All of these things have to be in place, or you still won't get them the maximum amount. Folks, we can get doctors as much as 98% of the money that they bill. And that's incredible in today's world. It's closer to 70% in most medical billing companies. So we teach our licensees how to go after it and really get a lot of money. And you're not a collection agency. You'll never make a phone call to a patient. Believe me, this is all automated systems. That's why we call ourselves American Business Systems.
Patrick, do you have that book still? Alan was asking a quick question here. He says,
Yeah.
What's the name of your book?
How to Reprogram Yourself for Success. You can find that on Amazon. Yeah. But I tell you what, why don't we just tell people that they don't have to go buy this book on Amazon if you don't want to, folks. Just get back with your business consultant, the people that sent you the email about this webinar, whoever that was, get back with them, reply to the email and just say, hey, Patrick said that you would send me an electronic version of his book, How to Reprogram Yourself for Success. We'll send that to you electronically.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you doing that. All right, let's turn the page and let's go into April. Folks, again, that was what you needed to learn about the system, the evolution of medical billing. We kind of just go through the whole thing there. We kind of go step by step of what you have to actually do to do medical billing. So go back and review that one back there in March. Now, when we got into April, we hear a lot about people that want to start their own business, but they said that they're not a salesperson. Patrick, besides people failing in business, we're asking the question about how many people fail in your business. This is probably number two. I want to start my own business, but I'm not a salesperson.
It's probably the biggest fear that most people have. That is, look, I believe what you guys say. I believe you do training in Dallas, and that when I get there, you'll actually be there. I think you're going to give me some good information. But what if I leave that workshop and I go out and I can't get a client? Where does that leave me? And so it's because they have a fear of going out and selling something that you don't really have to sell. This is a product, again, as we educate the doctors and the office managers, they want to do business with you. We found that out by doing some research and development in the early years, and then even recently here, Eric and I did some testing here locally, and believe me, the need is huge out there. So there was this webinar, and then there was another one, I think, also, well, you're showing it now. This one's Start Your Business Without Having to Sell. Same topic. We did a couple of them last year because that is something that really people need to focus on.
And then part of that is learning how to use the material that we give them. And why don't you talk real quickly about Cash Crunch to Cash Flow, that particular book there?
Yeah, that book you can also find on Amazon, by the way. That one is a book that I wrote along with a CPA, and it has to do with the doctor's cash flow. They have a cash crunch right now because of all the things that have come along in the last year or so in the healthcare field. So we're going to show them how to open that up and solve that and find the hidden leaks that are draining their profits. So this book is actually a book that you can buy from us. It's $14.95 on Amazon, but you can buy it for like $3 a copy. That's our printing cost, because we teach you how to mark that book and give that out to people in doctors' offices and get it right into the hands of the doctor to educate them. So it's an educational tool that you have because we've provided that for you. And then the other one that you see on the right there, How Physicians Can Get More Patients, that is an ebook that we give to you the rights to have your name on the front. As you can see on the bottom there, it's written by Dr. Vicki Rackner, who is a retired general surgeon. But you'll notice underneath it says forward by Sue Smith, CMRM. That's a certified medical revenue manager. Sue is just a fake name we put on there. It's your name that's actually on the cover of this book. So folks, look what we've done. We've matched you up. We've partnered you with a doctor to get this in the hands of other doctors. It doesn't get any better in marketing than this.
No, and folks, you could give out this little book. Like Patrick says, it can be an e-book that you email doctors. And I think, Patrick, haven't some people actually got this printed in print form? I mean, if they
Yes.
feel like doing that, they can actually get that done as well. I believe you've got that
I have a copy
there.
right here. You can go down.
Yep, you got a copy of that
Yeah, you
right
can go
there.
to anybody's print shop, Staples, and have it printed. Yeah, it's a nice. It's about 60 pages. Yeah, pretty nice.
Yep. So that's part of what you can have is if you're a little bit scared of the sales part of it or what we consider to be the marketing, we'll even show you how to hire sales reps that are already in front of doctors, or like the folks that are doing sales of tongue depressors and whatever else that they've got out there.
Cotton balls, rubber gloves.
Yep.
And of course the fancy equipment that's in there. Hey, Eric, this is a weird thing that people never think of, but those people who are scared of selling something, they can't imagine that there's people like this out there that absolutely love the whole process of going out and marketing something. We'll show you how to find these people, hire them, train them, pay them, and get them bringing you all the business you could possibly handle.
Yeah, and part of that is once they've got those folks to the table, and we're going to dive into this a little bit more in another section that we're going to go into, but that's where we all work together, and part of it is that we're doing the demos for you. So from start to finish in your entire marketing process, whether it's just getting that introduction to the doctor, having a sales rep work there, and then eventually getting these doctors to a demo, Patrick, someone really doesn't have to do too terribly much if they don't want to. However, you're going to want to know your doctor. I mean, because you are handling the doctor's money. This is a relationship business. Once that sales rep does what they're going to do, they're going to be dealing with you on a regular basis anyway. So obviously you need to have some people skills in knowing how to work with doctors, but a lot of it, we're doing the heavy lifting for them.
Yeah, I mean, think about this, folks. What other company do you know of that will actually, at any time that you set it up ahead of time, of course, we have an online registration for the doctor, that you go in and set up what's called a live demo of our system. And we actually give the demo. On the left, you're seeing us behind the scenes using something like this GoToWebinar system to make the presentation to the doctor. There he is in the bottom right-hand corner. There's you and your partner up in the upper right-hand corner on your computer watching and listening to the entire process. You don't have to say a thing. At the end, of course, we're going to turn it all over to you, and hopefully the doctor says, as he does in about 50% of the cases, well, what do I do to get started?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to turn the page, get into May here, and as we get into May, here is a very special webinar that you've done, and you're actually going to be doing another one this next week. These are ABS licensee interviews. Talk to us about how you do these interviews, Patrick, and kind of what transpires there.
Yeah, so what I do is I invite licensees who've gone through our training, who've gone out and gotten their business started. Maybe they have 1 or 2, 3, 4, half a dozen clients, and I get them to agree to being on a webinar with me and recording that webinar interview. If it's live, sometimes we play a replay of one, but if it's live, you get to ask them questions during that. So they're actual people who've been through the training, who've gone out and proven that our system works and have actually gotten clients and gotten revenue coming in. Val De Leon is one of those. We've also done these with several other licensees during the year. So be sure and go there to our blog, and in the search box, type in the word interview, and you'll see dozens on there that you can actually hear from people, not listening to what I say or what Eric says, because you never know what Eric's going to say. The point is, you never know what I'm going to say either, do you, Eric? The point is, you have to believe us.
That's the point. That's the truth there.
Believe the people who have actually gone through the training and gone out and done it. They have the T-shirt.
Before we pop off of this month and go into the next month, I don't know if you saw this earlier, Patrick, but Adam sent out an email showing us how our blogs are doing, and one of the top, I think it was the top searchable part of our blogs were the interviews. So folks, after that, I think it was, people failing in business, and then the other one was about, I'm not a sales rep. I mean, I'm not a salesperson. But the top searchable part of our blog were the interviews. And folks, go listen to some of those interviews. They're just incredible because, again, folks, they're just people just like you who are on this webinar today. And there's nothing better than to hear from folks that have been through everything.
Yeah, and by the way, Eric, we should just say to people that you can also speak to some of those people that you hear me interview. All you do is, again, get back with your business consultant that sent you the email about this webinar and tell them, I want to talk to some of the people. Ask them the questions that you want to ask directly to them. We've got people who have agreed on a rotational basis to take phone calls from folks like yourself. We have nothing to hide. And again, come down here and visit us, like Eric said, but you don't have to. A lot of people most people come to our training, don't they, Eric, without having visited our office here, because by the time they've done their due diligence and found out that we're for real, like going to the Better Business Bureau and seeing we have an A+ rating, for example, they say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go down and see. Because as you'll see, when we get to the end of this webinar today, we have a 100% money-back guarantee.
Right. All right, let's jump right into June. Here we go. Now we're getting to the hottest parts of the month of the year here, and we'll see what we can do. But this is a great webinar that you did, very specifically for our people that are looking to get in this business, Patrick. Normally, this is a webinar that you would do with licensees, but you chose to do this particular interview with Dr. Vicki Ratner for people like that are on the webinar today. So, folks, if you want to hear it from what we would say the horse's mouth, as we would say, go look up this webinar. Physicians discuss starting a business in healthcare.
Yeah, because Dr. Vicki, she will tell you, you'll hear her say that this is a very needed service, that she outsourced her billing as a general surgeon for like 20 some odd years, and that she recommends all doctors outsource their billing. Why? Because it is the best way for them to focus on their core competency, which is helping people to get well. And so it's a wonderful webinar. And who better to tell you that this is good for doctors than a doctor?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that the two of you spoke about. And one was this article that came out in Physicians Practice. Outsourcing billing at your practice is now the time. So you talked about that, and what she's doing right now, Patrick. Tell me, tell a little bit about what Dr. Ratner is doing now, where she's actually, again, not only she's telling doctors to outsource, but I mean she's actually helping them financially make sure that they can get every penny that they can get.
Yes, and the new book that you mentioned earlier, Eric, that she and I are working on together is going to be aimed at helping doctors to thrive in their current private practice. A lot of doctors are thinking that they need to go to work for a hospital or some big group, and they don't have to. They can just thrive in their own practice, and we're going to teach them how to do that. Oh, I love this quote you've got up here. 42%. This is from what? Blue Book? What's it?
Black Book Ranking.
Yeah. Of all 42% of all physician practices that are 1 to 5 doctors in the practice with employed billing staff hope to outsource their billing in the next 12 months. Eric, think about that. That's almost half of all the doctors that are out there doing the billing themselves. They're wanting to outsource it now. So again, folks, the market is just untapped out there.
And I know this not only this quote that you and Dr. Ratner talked about, but you also talked about this. This is an executive report that came out with these particular findings, and one of those is, I think, what you put here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there it comes. 2 out of 3 say they're just squeaking by or in the red financially. I mean, that's hard to believe, Patrick, that doctors are literally just squeaking by or they're in the red.
Yeah, and that's like 67%, right? 2/3. Yeah. 2 out of 3 doctors are just squeaking by. Now, that people find that hard to wrap their brain around, but that's why this is a perfect industry to get involved in, folks, because there's more of a need now than there was back in the late 80s when my wife and I were doing medical billing out of our home.
So this particular webinar right here, folks, the one that Patrick did with Dr. Ratner, again, just take down your little notes there. and go to that blog area and go find that particular webinar. Again, each one of these are about an hour long. So what we're giving you today is enough information to fill up about 12 hours of your time of just simple due diligence. I don't think, Patrick, most business opportunities or franchises don't even give half of what we're given. When we're doing our
we're just showing one of the key webinars in each one of those months, right? We do these every week. We have done over 50 hours of educational information for you and other people who've been looking into getting into their own business. And some of them have to do with ours specifically, of course. We're going to show you the advantages of ours. But we also talk about generic things like how to hire salespeople. Those are important things you need to know no matter what business you started. So, folks, if you can't get to our training in February, starts February 8th, for some reason, it doesn't matter. Continue attending these webinars and educate yourself on this, because the more you find out, the more you'll want to get involved.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's turn the page and get into July. So July, what we discussed is plugging into the largest network of medical billing companies powered by American Business Systems.
Right, because you know what, folks, we are the nation's largest network of medical revenue managers. In other words, we have more people out there that have gone through our training than any other company or institution in America. And this is why you need to be a part of it, because being a part of something that's that big, you can speak in terms like this. I've just opened a local office. I'm a part of the nation's largest network of independent revenue cycle managers. We collect millions of dollars for thousands of doctors from coast to coast every day. Now, see, you couldn't say that if you started your business on your own, but being a part of ABS, you'll be able to say that. That's the corporate we you're using.
And so what you're getting with us, and what we go into in very much detail in this particular webinar, we go through each one of the services: iClaim, EMRX, AutoCard, Quick Collect, Choice Pay, Audit Guard, CodeWrite, iDocs Now, Physician's Toolbox. And because I've just said all that, I do want to address one of the questions that came up here from Bonnie. Bonnie's asking the question, is there any coding or medical knowledge required? Bonnie, you don't need a background in this, because in each of these categories, whether it's Audit Guard or CodeWrite or any of these other parts, we're going to teach you to do that. You're not going to be a coder. We actually explain that in another webinar. What's the difference between a medical biller and a medical coder? But you don't need that background. We're going to teach you everything you need to do, learn about medical billing through our 5 days of live training. And then doctors that actually need coding, you're going to use one of those two services, Audit Guard or CodeWrite, to help you in that particular area. So we've got everything covered for you in this entire suite of solutions here at American Business Systems.
Yeah, we came up with these additional services because of a need that's out there in the marketplace. All of them were suggested by our licensees. Well, look, I had a doctor ask me about coding, even though it's all built into our system. What if he wants to know a specific code? We have now certified medical coders that can help our licensees. So every one of these things, guys, are optional. You don't have to offer them to your clients. But believe me, you have a suite of solutions that makes you stand out in the marketplace and make you very unique among billing companies out there in your area.
And then what puts it all together is that ABS support, the live support that you get, a lifetime of support here at American Business Systems. And we may put you in touch with another licensee. That's why that's why you need to get plugged in. You don't need to look at other licensees that might be in your area as your competitors. You actually look at your other ABS licensees as being part of your support team, because again, they've been through it. They know. They also understand that there are so many doctors in that one particular area, you can't get them all either. So now, it is a.
I have to emphasize, you said it's lifetime support, but let me let that sink in. In the past, we've had some competitors who did something similar to what we've done, and those competitors were offering people support for the first year.
Right.
And they had to pay, it's like $400 or $500 or $1,000 a year for continued support. We've done a completely different thing here, folks. In our model, we make money on all those services for those additional solutions that you just saw on the screen, And since we make money on each one of those, we want you to be as successful as possible. And so we've decided there is no charge for support. As long as you're an ABS licensee, you've got our support forever. And we've been around for 22 years, folks. And it's even getting better this year. So we'll be around for another 22 at least, I'm thinking.
No doubt about it. All right, so we've kind of gone over the hump of the entire year. We're kind of on the backside of the year, getting into August. And people were asking about, well, again, what about this support? And again, folks, this particular webinar, you can see that there are 10 steps of what you need to do and how to do your due diligence. Don't go it alone. And, when you're doing what you need to do, let us help you that you're not out there on the road by yourself going nowhere.
Right.
That's
for example, everybody's heard probably that there were some new codes in the medical field that were issued this year by the government. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services came out with what they call ICD-10. That's the International Classification of Diseases, number 10. We were on number 9. Now we've switched as of October 1st of this year, 2015. And folks, now all of a sudden, doctors are wondering why they're not getting paid what they should be getting paid. That's because their systems that they're using don't have the right codes in there. And ours does.
Correct. Yeah. And so part of what we're showing you here is that this was during the month of August. You can see it was just around the corner, about 70 days out before this actually occurred there in October. And again, we're keeping up in these webinars. We're actually showing you live updated information that we're getting continually from our licensees or things that Patrick finds or anybody else at our ABS finds. We put this information out there for you to kind of let you know that we're on the cusp of everything. But one of the things that we talked about in this, we can only deal with one step right now. There's 10, remember, is number 1 to check out the company. You want to find out the company you're about to deal business with, do they have live training? Is there a guarantee? How long have they been around? Again, we get to celebrate 22 years this next year. What does the technology look like? What does the support look like? And what does their stability look like? When you're looking at anything, that's probably the key things you need to be looking at as you're looking at whatever company you're going to be involved with. And ABS is one of those ones that can have a yes, 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 yes by every single one of these so far.
Yeah, so if you go out to our blog, do a search there for Don't Go It Alone, and you'll find this webinar, and we'll go into detail on all these things, what you should be looking for. So again, even if you're not looking at our business, you're looking at some other business or some other franchise, you need to know this information. You need to know what you should be doing your due diligence on to make sure you're making the right choice. Because
exactly.
I hate to break it to you, but Eric, there's a lot of scams out there on the internet. I had a Nigerian prince send me an email yesterday wanting me to give him my bank account number so he could deposit several $1 million into it.
Oh, Patrick, I mean, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right?
It must be, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so in September, we talked about how to grow your practice or how to grow your business by helping doctors thrive in private practice. Remember, that was that key word that Dr. Vicki Ratner was talking about. Even if you hate marketing, and again, we try to address this in a couple of different ways so that you understand that we're hearing what you're saying. But in this one, we saw this particular article that came out. Again, here's Healthcare Finance News. We see that healthcare providers expect a major financial headache from the ICD-10. Survey says 35% have not adjusted their revenue cycle in preparation. And we know that is occurring. And it's a continual problem that doctors are facing right now with this whole ICD-10. But in this one, Patrick, you want to kind of talk about the 5 things we said, how we're going to help you get your clients?
Oh, well, yes. We went into detail about what ABS does. We're asked that question a lot too, aren't we, Eric? Well, do you help us get clients?
Yeah.
Well, we don't go out and find a client and say, here's a client, here's a signed agreement. If we were doing that, we wouldn't need our ABS licensees, right? But we're not in the medical billing business. As a company, what we do is train and support people that we put into the business. So one of the things we do is teach you how to get an appointment. That's pretty important that you know how to get past the gatekeeper and get an actual appointment, get inside that doctor's office. Then we show you how to offer a practice analysis. This is where you find out where the pain is. And we've developed this over the last 22 years. It's 3 pages of questions that you can ask the office manager. to get the details that you need to find out what the solution is. Number 3, how to set up a live demo. Folks, I can't emphasize to you how important that is. Doctors want to see that you're using the latest technology, and especially in the electronic health records. So we have the latest technology, the leading edge technology. Right. We've been doing it again for 22 years, so we know what we're doing. Then number 4, how to prepare and price a proposal. Very important step that most people fail on, and that is once they've made a presentation and shown people what they have, how do they put all that together to make sure that they don't leave money on the table and yet they actually get a signed agreement? We can show you, because of our experience, how to do that.
And then finally, how to implement into that practice, and because that can be, you're going to need some navigation on that too. So every step, 5 how-tos: how to get the appointment, how to offer the practice analysis, how to set up that live demo, how to prepare and price a proposal, how to implement into the practice. Folks, again, this is the 5 steps in how ABS helps you get a client or a doctor there. So make sure that you write down that particular webinar, go back and find that one. Patrick and I go step by step and very detailed in each one of those specific areas of that. So make sure that you get into that. All right, we're closing on the year here, and we're looking at the time. We got about 10 minutes. I think we'll be able to make this here. So October, talk to us about the support team, Patrick. Don't go charting all these waters and get into this business without a support team.
Yes, and that graphic is on its way, I'm sure. You know, those graphics of the calendars just take a while. It's still loading here on mine. I don't know about yours. There it is. Okay, so we're seeing October, and now he's going to show you that the topic was don't start a new business without a winning support team. Now, we've kind of touched on support, but folks, I can't tell you how important it is that you have a winning support team. For example, we have a licensee website that's specifically for our web licensees. They have a login, of course, and a password to get into it, and it has a wealth of data. Eric, there's probably 100 hours of training on our licensee support site, plus all kinds of documents and other video files and things like that that you can watch. But one of the things that we mentioned earlier that we really focus on are those live demos. Those are the key. Again, 50% of all the doctors that you can get to come to one of those live demos ends up doing business with us somewhere down the line. So it is a huge tool that we're providing at no additional cost to our licensees. They can schedule 10 of these a week if they want to. We'll do them all for them, one-on-one with the doctor.
Right, and during that time, we're just kind of showing you just a quick snapshot of what we're going over here. But you're seeing that we're gonna show the doctor how to get their patient information here, how to get the patient demographics in there. Everything that you see there in yellow has to be filled in and properly done. And then we show the doctors how to use the EMRX, how to literally go through this and show them how easy it is that they can chart as they're seeing their patients to get their notes in the system properly. So, folks, we are, again, like Patrick is saying, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting here for you. So part of what you need to do is, first of all, get signed up. I see some people already said that they want to try to get in that February training here. Figure out how you can get here. We'll get you through the training class. We'll show you how to get in front of doctors, to market towards those doctors. Again, put the selling thing out of your head. We're not selling anything to doctors. We're just providing a service. It's kind of like if we don't see doctors out there on the street corners with, hey, come by and see me. We go to them because we've got a pain.
Right.
That's why doctors are in business, and that's why we're in business. And it's the same principle here.
Eric, let's address just a couple of questions here. Tony says, do you have an ROI tool that we can share with doctors about the ABS solution? Yes, in fact, on one of these webinars, we probably bring that up on the screen and show that tool. But Tony, yes, basically is from the practice analysis that you get from the office manager or the doctor, you put that into this tool and print out a report, yes, that shows them their return on investment. I mean, it shows them immediately what kind of money they could be saving by outsourcing to you. So it does all the selling for you. Hugh says, did I miss where the blog is? Hugh, look at the bottom of this slide. That's our website, absystems.com. Go there, click on news, and then blog. Okay.
Yep, I'm showing it back. I'm showing it back out there. Hopefully it's showing up there on the screen, and you'll just go right to our website, and you can go right directly there where it says news and then blog, and you should be able to find it right there. And there's where you find every webinar that we've talked about so far. All right, so as we go into November, we just got a couple more to do, and then we're going to hopefully wrap up with a few more questions here. But folks, just last month, this is the one that we did, one of the ones that we did for last month. Doctors do need you, and this is where we're going to talk to you about how you help doctors while building a hugely. How does
Trump?
Okay, thank you. Trump say that?
It's
profitable business. Well, folks, you can see here, again, we're using Healthcare Finance News. If you haven't noticed yet, we use them quite often in a lot of our webinars. And if you're seriously looking to get into this business, you ought to get on their website. And they, too, have emails where they'll just drop this information into your email buckets, and you didn't know. But here's the profit. Administrative pressures drive physician practices to sell. Though more plan to go it alone, survey finds the report found declining reimbursements. I think we talked about that in January, Patrick.
Right.
Was the top challenge for practice owners.
And of course,
here are the graphs.
Yeah, these kinds of articles just validate for you that not only is this business real, but it's something that you can utilize. We give you reprints of all these on our LSS, our licensing support site, and you can download these and print them out and use these in your marketing, because it educates the doctors that they don't know what their peers are doing unless they read it in something like this.
I mean, look at this one. Key challenges to practice profitability. 62% say declining reimbursements. If you learn what you're becoming as an ABS licensee, you're not getting a certification in coding. What you're getting a certification in is medical revenue management. That's what you're getting certified in. That's what's going to help you get doctors. Why? Because more than half of all doctors out there are having declining reimbursements.
Yeah, folks,
can't make it any more simple than that.
What's that? I'm sorry, missed that.
I said we can't make it any more simple than that. If doctors' reimbursements are declining, we've got the way to help doctors increase their revenues.
Absolutely. And folks, we don't focus on the technical aspects of medical billing because, to be honest with you, you could learn how to do medical billing at a local college, take a couple of courses there, maybe online. There's some things you could learn how to do medical billing in general terms. But folks, we focus on teaching you how to build a business, a profitable business. Right. And that's what this webinar here was all about. Okay, Eric, we're getting close here.
Yeah, we're finally in December, and I think we're going to make it here. Patrick, we talked about the top 10 things as we're going into 2016. This is the one we did last week, most recent ones, the top 10 reasons or top 10 challenges doctors are facing. Number one, getting paid. I'll just kind of go through these real quickly. 2, collections of co-pays and deductibles, administrative burdens, rising operational costs, independence versus employment, keeping pace with technology, HIPAA, which is the Privacy Act there, implementing ICD-10 codes, EHR/EMR, electronic medical records, and then number 10, payers, the insurance companies dictating healthcare. Folks, let's let this sink in for a moment. These are the same issues that doctors were faced with in 2015. Nothing's changed. Matter of fact, it's growing. These issues are growing. It's a monster that can't be stopped for most practices. That's why you're finding a lot of doctors just trying to get out of practicing. But however, again, we put this article out there last week. This is again from Physicians Practice. Economic pressures bolster case for what? Outsourcing billing. Patrick, can you read that there on that line there?
That slide is coming up. Now,
There we go.
okay. All right. So here's the quote. It says, paying a third party to manage the revenue cycle is one cost that can actually improve your bottom line. Wow. That's all I need.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks, we can't get it any better than that. Again, you can go into that article. You can find out more what's being said by John Boland. There's more information there by a certified coding instructor talking about the pressures of technology, of what's going on there, how many practices are just, they're looking to third-party billing companies to help them with their technology, help them get a hold of their practice management systems. We don't want to just read these here. You can see these. Again, you can go back and watch the one last week. Take down that website that you see right across the top there if you want to. But folks, doctors still having problems with the Affordable Care Act. Why is that? Again, the key challenges is declining reimbursements.
And then don't forget the Affordable Care Act, sometimes known as Obamacare. Folks, there's 30 million uninsured Americans that are trying to get into the healthcare system through Obamacare. And believe me, that means more patients that the doctors have to visit on a regular basis. Okay, sorry. Next slide.
Yep. These are still the biggest issues here. These four issues, folks, is how we're kind of summing this up today. So if you take nothing more away than obviously going to our blog, but if you could count these four as the reason doctors would need you: declining reimbursements, the Affordable Care Act, the transition to ICD-10, and rising cost of healthcare. This is what's positioning you to be successful in 2016.
Hey, and before we get to our guarantee, which you go ahead and put on the screen if you want to, Eric, because it's 4 o'clock right now, I want to get to Celia's question about I'd like to sign up for the training class in February. Where do I do this? You do this by getting back to the person who sent you the email about this webinar, or just call our number. We're going to put it on the screen here in just a moment, and just ask for your ABS representative, and we'll put you in contact with that person. They'll get all the paperwork to you that you need to get into the class.